Hey everybody, Zee Garcia here. So as you may or may not know, I am a huge fan of the Others here. This is an all versus one horror game in which you are trying to clear off the invasion of this sin power if you are the good guys, or attacking the world if you are the sins player. It's very thematic, it's very interesting, it's also very streamlined, which is what I like about it. Well, I just recently was able to complete the collection here, to get the absolute last thing that I was missing for the Others. And that's this right here, Omega Team. This one's kind of hard to get, but as I said, it was the absolute last thing I needed. And so I got it, I was able to play the game again, and it sort of inspired me to talk about the characters in the game, the heroes. And I've already done a video, by the way, about the sins, and then I ranked the sins, so if you want to check that out, I also ranked the acolytes. Those are both baddies that you have to fight in the game, or be in the game. And so I decided to go ahead and rank my favorite heroes. I started going through them all, and it was really difficult, actually. So, I ended up not even ranking them. It's just too tough to actually say this is 10, this is 9, this is 8. I'm just going to show you my favorites and talk about them. And I cheated slightly, so I'm showing you 11 characters. So hopefully, I'll be talking about them, what I think about them, why I like them, and sort of when I think they would be played. If you're familiar with the game, sometimes heroes come in early, and some are set aside, and they'll come in later on in the game as the active ones are defeated and new ones show up. So again, hopefully you find this interesting. I certainly enjoy the game very much. If you have not played, don't really understand the game yet, that I'm not sure how much you're going to be able to understand this, but hey, check it out anyway. It might inspire you with some of the cool characters and what they do to check out the game if you haven't. So that's enough talking out of me, at least from this point of view. Let's cut to the table. Let me show you some characters. So I'm not even going to try to rank these. I'm just going to go through my favorite leaders, fixers, shooters, and bruisers, and talk about them a little bit as I am going over them. So we're going to start off with, let's get these guys out of the way here, Father Odin, who is from the Sons of Ragnarok set, and he has an ability that says all heroes get +1 die to all rolls if they have at least 2 wounds. So I like this power because it affects everyone, no matter location, no matter where you are. And it rewards you, and you'll hear this quite a bit in this overview, for something that is going to happen anyway. And I like those kinds of powers in the game. People are going to get wounded. Now, the tricky part is knowing when to deploy this guy. Do you put him out right away? Do you wait until to come in, say, after a single hero has fallen? It's very likely that at that point, some of the damage has been distributed evenly, hopefully. And so when he shows up, he is boosting at least a couple of people who have already taken some wounds. So that's probably what I would do. Bring him in as the first reinforcement as soon as someone has fallen, if it makes sense at that point. And that's the other thing. You can choose, if you leave him out and not in the initial draw, of heroes, then you can choose if as soon as someone goes down, would this be a good idea to bring in for that special power. Very cool, Father Odin here. We have next up Keanu here, who is from the, as it says on the back here, the Gamma team. And Keanu has an ability that says at the start of your first turn each round, you're going to mark any hero, and the marked hero, when they use a city action, they can replace one of these symbols with whatever they need. I like it because it's nice and flexible. It allows the players to replace that symbol with whatever they might need at that point. It's usually going to be an upgrade, because that's normally the hardest thing to come by in the game. I mean, depending on the scenario and the layout, but that's usually what you would want to do. But it's a very nice amount of leeway that you have as far as what you do with his power. Unfortunately, it's pretty slow, and it is pretty situational. You only get one for an entire round. Assuming he sticks around for 2-3 rounds, you got it 2-3 times, and then the other people have to go and make sure they're using their district while they are marked. So, it's not the most powerful guy that I have here to show you, but it is still a cool power, and it's still an interesting leader. So those are my 2 leader picks, and so next up I'm going to show you here Loki, who is a fixer. Now, fixers, again, normally have more dice to clean up the city than they do to fight. Loki here, who is a son of Ragnarok, has a really interesting power that says, if you take any wounds and you survive, then you may end your turn and replace Loki here with one of the set-aside heroes. You put them in play, you put Loki aside, you keep all the upgrades that Loki had, but you remove all the wounds and all the corruption from this guy. If you can time this just right, it's almost like having an extra hero in your reserve. It's almost as though you're starting with yet another one. That can be a massive boost. Very cool power, strong, but yeah, it kind of has a game of chicken feel to it. How much do you wait until you do this? I mean, if you're able to get him up to 4 wounds and you're not actually killed, absolutely do it. But do you do it after 3 wounds? How about after 2? You might just die if you wait too long. So, very cool power there. We have here Balder. This is also a son of Ragnarok, but this one is one that came in the Omega Team set. That is the Kickstarter exclusive set. And Balder here, also a fixer, has an ability that says, at the end of every fight you start, you may immediately choose and equip a new upgrade card. This is a fantastic early game play because you are going to probably be starting a bunch of fights yourself, and you can build up some equipment on this guy. When he goes down, the next character you bring into play will start with the same number of equipment cards that he was able to gather. And that is a great boost to be able to have a lot of equipment early in the game and carry it over. When you pick a new character, you don't have to keep the same equipment, but you're going to have the same number of equipment cards. And I really like that very much. Our last fixer here is this guy, or also this guy here. He is from the Alpha set, Alpha Team. This is the one that comes in the base game. And this is Carl, who can be a human or can transform into a wolf because he's a werewolf. And so as a human, he is going to have very good cleaning up ability here. And the power says at the start of your turn, you may switch to wolf form. And as a human, you are gain a 1 corruption cancellation to all of your fight rolls. I like that the ability here is at the beginning of your turn. There's another character in the game, I forget what team she's from, and she switches at the end, I believe, and she's also forced to do it. This guy can adapt to what's going on. And so if you see a turn coming up and you know you're going to need some firepower, then you can switch to wolf form and look at that hit. This is a massive character. At the start of your turn, you may switch back, of course, and as a wolf, you may move 1 additional space if that's necessary. That's not always a big deal. Sometimes, that just won't matter that much. But and also while you are moving, you're probably getting hit anyway. But I like the ability that the idea that this guy's a fixer who can do both, who can fix and rolls 4 dice for that, or who can just become a beast and smack the baddies around for 4 as well. So that is it for my fixers. Next up, we're going to take a look at our shooters here. So here we've got Rocco, who is also Alpha Team. He comes in the base set. And Rocco is a ranged shooter. He has an ability that's pretty straightforward. Simply says that he gains 2 hits whenever he starts a ranged fight. He rolls only 2 dice. That's the main drawback. But you are simulating rolling 4 dice when you are shooting. And of course, when you are shooting, if you're able to do that effectively, assuming the characters that you are shooting or the space you are shooting into gets wiped clean, then they will not rush you and attack you back. So this is a very strong character. He's able to wipe up the city a little bit from far away, hopefully eliminate what he's shooting at and not have to deal with a retaliation of that. A character that needs support from others, certainly, but still a very fantastic support kind of ability for the entire team. This can assist other players who are attempting to go about whatever mission you are accomplishing. My next shooter and my last shooter here is Zee, and this is from the Men of Faith as well. And you can tell that I've picked quite a few of the Men of Faith characters because I do think that it's an incredibly strong set of characters that is also, if I'm not mistaken, a Kickstarter exclusive grouping of characters. And so this one, also a ranged attacker. He has very low dice values. That's the main drawback here. But the power is quite nice. At the end of every fight you survive, you mark yourself, and then you get +1 die for each of your to all of your rolls for every one of those marks that you have. So it's this idea of ramping up. You get souped up the longer you are in the game. The Sin player is likely to target you because unchecked, this dude can become quite a beast. But it's still a juicy power. I just like the way it feels. This idea of just getting better and better and better and better and better. If you can couple this with someone else who can heal you, can keep you around for a longer time, then the Sins player is going to be in trouble. Really enjoy that. And now we're going to take a look at our bruisers. So we've got here Augustine. As I said, Men of Faith is a fantastic set. This is yet another one. And Augustine here has an ability that says if you roll more hits than are needed to actually kill everything you're shooting, you may heal 1 wound and 1 corruption. That's going to hopefully keep you around for a while. And normally, early in the game, when you're shooting into places that have attacking into a place that has a single abomination, let's say, then you are possibly going to overdo it. I also like that you can give yourself corruption. You can roll those extra dice, and then if you do more hits than were needed, take that right back. I like that. It's a strong power. It's very interesting. I enjoy it. Next up, we've got Wengzi Wong. She is from the Delta team, and her power is that while you are outnumbered in a fight, you get +1 die. You also get an automatic hit and an automatic cancellation to corruption. She's just an all-around good character. She rolls 3 dice. That's pretty good. She's also got considerably high defense at a built-in 3 shields. And that power is just going to come into play, especially later in the game. She's a good late-game player, I would say. You want to leave her in reserve for a while and then bring her in when the baddies start grouping up and use her to mop up a little bit. These are the kinds of scenarios that normally, make the sweat bead on your forehead when later in the game the Sins player gets to react to something, bring in another character into a fight that already had 2 baddies in there, and now you're getting hit with the total dice for 3 characters all at once. Well, with her in play, you get a little boost for that. You get some help, so I like that very much. Next up, we've got Morgana here. She is from the Alpha set. She comes in the base game. And as you see, I picked 3 characters from the base set because I do think it's a nice balance of powers. It's a fantastic team, the original Alpha team. Morgana here, who is our bruiser, has, of course, her vampiric regeneration, which is very simple, very powerful. I love it. You heal 1 wound at the end of each of your turns. And that's all that you need to know. She is going to stick around, hopefully, for quite a while. She has pretty good stats here, nicely distributed. And if you are getting hurt, if you are getting smacked around, well, you're going to keep on healing that 1 wound, which can keep you going. I like it. This is a good one pretty much anytime. It can depend what you're coupling this power with to see if you want to have another character. Say, for example, if this character gets marked, let's say, to choose whatever city symbol she wants to, as you saw earlier, then that's a good combination because hopefully she'll stick around for a longer time. She'll be able to use that mark more times than another character who might drop a little faster. And then lastly, yes, it's yet another Men of Faith character, and this is our last pick here. This one says, Manifest Destiny, when you take voluntary corruption, you also gain the bonus 1 level higher. That is just cool. And I like that it, again, rewards you for something you probably should be doing anyway. One of the biggest things I see new players do in the others, the human players, is that they are afraid to take voluntary corruption. Well, usually what happens if you're afraid to take voluntary corruption is you look across the table and the Sins player's rolling, 7 dice against you and you're rolling 3. And you go, well, hold on, something's off here. What's happening? Well, you're probably not giving yourself these voluntary corruptions, which translate into virtual dice, usually, right? So if I'm here, let's say, and I move 1 up, and then I roll my dice, I'm technically rolling 6 dice. I'm rolling these 3. I've got another one here that's an actual die, so I'm rolling 4. But then I've got a built-in hit, and I've got another built-in shield. That is like getting more dice. You're just not physically rolling them. You've already set them. You set the die and put it aside, if you want to think of it that way. Well, this guy, if I do that same thing, I also get this power. That's fantastic. So, yes, a character that's probably not going to stick around for a long time in the game, but you should be able to do some serious damage while this character is, at your disposal. So there you go. Those are all of my favorite characters in the game. Hopefully you enjoyed that and sharing, my thoughts with you. It was interesting at the very least. And I hope you enjoy playing the game. And if you've never played it, if you haven't discovered it, then certainly give it a try, because I think you're going to like it. So there you go. Thanks for checking this out with me. I'm Zee Garcia, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com.